Hey everybody, Josh Sigurdson of World Alternative Media here, and we're joined by Kingsley Edwards, CEO and founder of Flote.app. And we got some breaking news here today, and I'm going to share my screen with you guys so you guys can see what I'm talking about as Joe Biden has been declared the winner of the 2020 presidential elections. This idea that we can pick our masters for our neighbors, which is obviously flawed by the very idea of democracy itself. But we can go into all that and more later. But I want to first just point out the stories that are hitting the headlines right now. I mean, look at the bias of these headlines. It says New York Times, Biden wins presidency, ending 4 tumultuous years under Trump. Can you imagine New York Times saying anything like that under Obama after he bombed hundreds of thousands of people? No, that's not going to happen. We have CNN here. Biden defeats Trump in an election he made about the character of the nation and the president. Again, these snappy headlines that seriously, the left doesn't know how to meme. We have this footage coming out of Trump golfing as the election was called. A lot of people are joking about it. It says his presidency died as it lived, cheating at golf. There's so much emotion and there's not enough logic in the United States today. We see that on full scale, especially with this election. We see this article here, huge. Corrupted software used in Michigan County that stole 6,000 votes from Trump is also used in all swing states: Pennsylvania, Georgia, Nevada, Michigan, Wisconsin, Arizona, and Minnesota. It's the voter fraud so obvious and out front. It says breaking 11,791 ballots released by the 3 Arizona counties, 66.3% for President Trump. And Trump has released a statement, and it says, and as I quote here, we all know why Joe Biden is rushing to falsely pose as a winner and why his media allies are trying so hard to help him. They don't want the truth to be exposed. The simple fact is this election is far from over. Joe Biden has not been certified as a winner of any states, let alone any of the highly contested states headed for mandatory recounts, or states where our campaign has valid and legitimate legal challenges that could determine the ultimate victor. In Pennsylvania, for example, our legal observers were not permitted meaningful access to watch the counting process. Legal votes decide who is president, not the news media. And it continues, beginning Monday, our campaign will start prosecuting our case in court to ensure election laws are fully upheld and the rightful winner is seated. The American people are entitled to an honest election. That means counting all legal ballots and not confidence in and not counting any illegal ballots. This is the only way to ensure the public has full confidence in our election. It remains shocking that the Biden campaign refuses to agree with the basic principle and wants ballots counted even if they are fraudulent, manufactured, or cast by ineligible or deceased voters. Only a party engaged in wrongdoing would unlawfully keep observers out of the courtroom and then fight in court to block their access. So what is Biden hiding? I will not rest until the American people have the honest vote count they deserve and the democracy and that democracy demands. Remember, my friends, democracy is 2 wolves and a sheep deciding what to have for dinner. This isn't about attacking Trump. They're not going after Trump like many people believe. This is about causing a civil war, causing divide, causing people to clash against each other at a crossroads in not just American history, but world history, at a time when everyone's out of work, everyone's going homeless because of these tyrannical lockdowns, while people sat on their hands for 4 years on the Trump side saying, trust the plan. Look, guys, this is the end road here. And, when we see this election fraud, it just really confirms everything we've been talking about for so many years. We're not so crazy after all. Kingsley, talk about what do you think regarding, obviously, the election being found in favor of Joe Biden and what this means, not even necessarily for politics, but for, the heartbeat of the country. You have all these people that on both sides, 50-50, are about to clash against each other. And it seems like the perfect situation for the establishment at this time in history.
Yeah, it's so interesting. I mean, Trump's, just Trump entering the political scene is just like it's a game changer, regardless. Not even saying that it's a good thing or a bad, or I mean, it's a bad thing, obviously, but
politics.
But politics. Yeah, that's what I mean. But it's just interesting how Trump came along, and because typically, since I've become woke since I would say 2007, it was easy to see that the media was aligned with the White House basically all the time. And then the media, just the constant attacking of Trump it became very confusing for, I think, a lot of, libertarian leaning people, because, we always just thought that, they would always be aligned.
Mhm.
And, but then, Trump would do some good things and mostly, a lot of bad things. And they would attack him for everything, or sometimes actually they would agree with him with the bad things that he did. Of course,
Of course, they would agree with him if he wanted to bomb a country, but they would disagree with him if he wanted to lower taxes. And then
Right.
Joe Biden's going out and saying, "I'm going to raise your taxes." I mean, it's insane. But this kind of media manipulation, Kingsley, is something that you can obviously relate to because you joined the military after 9/11 and after seeing the media pump up this warmongering and this fear machine, and you obviously learned from it. But tell us a little bit about how that kind of pulled you in and got you involved in fighting for the government, thinking you're fighting for the people.
Yeah, I mean, just government indoctrination, from kindergarten to 12th grade, and then just what happened with 9/11. And at the time, a lot of the 9/11 truth movement, I mean, it was very, very small, and I wasn't a part of that yet. So I thought I was doing the right thing. I consider myself a good person, and I thought that I was be going overseas and really committing my life to service on behalf of the exact people who, the banksters and the politicians who really just artificially created which they always do. I mean, look at Gulf of Tonkin. I mean, it's going back to really World War I. There's just been so many questionable things that have been documented and proven as false. I'm not sure if, I can say the word now because you're off of YouTube. False flags or other things. It's very questionable, but it's right now. It's such, it's crazy. It's pretty crazy in America. Although you don't, you feel it a little bit when you walk outside. At least in Vegas, I think Vegas is a little bit different. I think if I was in California, I mean, I would be it would be like living through They Live, the movie. But the tensions are there. I mean, we see black militia members on the streets. At least the media is showing this. White militia members. And now what do we have? We have a President Biden. So they're telling us that's going to come in, and one of the top things on his agenda is getting rid of the AR-15s.
Which they just did in Canada, by the way, and it was perfect timing considering and all assault and semi-assault rifles, as they say in Canada, which doesn't even make sense. No, not good with gun lingo in Canada. But it's interesting the timing because we just witnessed the biggest false flag in history of the world. I mean, this whole COVID crisis has been obviously one of the biggest false flags in history because it's affected. It's that invisible enemy everyone's afraid of. It's the same thing after 9/11, this invisible enemy of, these terrorists, which the U.S. armed and funded in the first place. In this case, this invisible enemy of a virus that apparently spreads in air magically, like no other virus. It's a magical virus, which the U.S. government and the Chinese government were clearly, creating in a lab in Wuhan. And, Dr. Fauci, and I always make the point to point out, Dr. Fauci heads up the National Institute for Allergies and Infectious Diseases, which got millions of dollars in grants from the U.S. government to study coronavirus in bats. It's 96% similar to the novel coronavirus in Wuhan, China, at the Wuhan Institute of Virology. And the whole idea of the study was how to spread it to humans. I mean, that's on their own website. I mean, that isn't like some crazy conspiracy theory. And the fact that in a court of law, that wouldn't just be suspect. That would probably get the guy sentenced. So, I mean, when you have all this stuff coming together at the same time as they're trying to go for the guns, they want to raise taxes. Everyone's like desperate because they've lost their job. They're facing homelessness. And then at the same time, you have a contested election where it's on full scale. It's so obvious that it's election fraud. Like they don't even try to hide it because they know one side's going to say that's bullshit. And then people on the other side are going to be like, they're destroying and meddling in the election. And it really comes to prove what we've been saying for a while too, the doublespeak, because at the same time, these guys that said Russia made Trump president for 4 years and never accepted the results of the last election. They're like, you have to accept the results of this election because it's the decision of democracy. It's like these people are so hypocritical on both sides. And now you have all this culminating to a possible civil war. So it's a perfect timing for YouTube to shut everyone down, for Facebook to, I'm banned right now on YouTube and Facebook at the same time. They're coming for me on Twitter. I mean, I'm basically just on BitChute, LBRY / Odysee, and as of course Flote. So talk about going forward, how you are not going to manipulate the words of people, change the words of people's mouths, stop people from being able to speak freely on your platform, Flote.app, and why people should go over there. If we're worried about this divide and conquer method, we need to get together and organize. So tell people why they should go over to Flote.app and how you're not going to censor them.
Talking about the criminalization of speech as a real big possibility. I mean, your next Facebook post or Twitter post or YouTube video could end you up in jail, depending on what you say. I mean, and really they're going after, like, or they're reclassifying or just kind of pushing forward this idea of hate speech and the criminalization of speech, and which eventually leads to the criminalization of thought. So it's very terrifying. A lot of people, I don't think they really understand where this is going, and what the possibilities are for the future. I mean, this is telling this, we knew this was coming, but now it's gotten to a point where it's like a wrecking ball that can't be stopped. Because they do what they want. They are the true sovereign citizens. They don't follow their own laws, but we must obey them. And as my shirt says, don't obey. But so it's a time now where yeah, there you go. I have to go buy a rifle. I'm looking at that because and I did this under Obama too, just because you just don't know. But I mean, well, we weren't 100% sure under Obama, but Biden and Kamala, I forget. Kamala. She, they've said that this is going to be one of the top things on their agenda. And then, yeah, they're basically like, we're going to raise your taxes. And everyone's like, woo, yeah, we're going.
I know. Well, if you get to that point, it really is kind of scary. I mean, the fact is, Joe Biden's going to lock down the country. It's a perfect time. I was talking, I don't know if it was to you or to Tim Picciott. I was talking to one of you guys on the phone recently about how perfect it would be for Trudeau in Canada, for someone like Obama or Biden in the United States. And then you have Macron in France and Merkel in Germany. You have this and Xi Jinping in China, this combination, Benjamin Netanyahu, all these people together. I mean, these world leaders, of course, they're not really the ones in charge. There's people behind them that's in charge. But without a doubt, that's a scary combination. And it's weird because, I was at a Bitcoin meetup in Las Vegas about 1.5 years ago that your wife was hosting. And a guy came up to me at the Bitcoin meetup. And this is long before, either Kamala Harris or Joe Biden entered the race. In fact, I think it was in 2018 that this happened. And the guy said, I'm a friend of Kamala Harris. And I just knew a little bit about her at the time. And he said, she's going to run for president. And she's probably going to, get knocked off in the election during the caucuses and will become vice president. And I just thought he was like some crazy guy. I'm like, well, now I got to find out who this guy is. He lives in Las Vegas. But I mean, this guy just showed up at one of your guys' Bitcoin meetups and is like, yeah, this is going to happen. So I've just been thinking about that a lot because obviously this was in the playbook for a long time. Now, again, with Flote.app, I mean, I think it's really important that people are able to spread this message. Obviously, it's time to take action. It's not as much about educating anymore as it is about taking action. But I think the biggest form of action is in your own life and taking care of yourself and being responsible and defending yourself to the greatest degree. I mean, to the point where they're not going to be sticking needles in your arm. They won't be breaking down your door because no free human being sits on their hands while they kick in your door and try and attack your family. So it's really important that at least we get people informed of that. And Flote.app is basically one of the only places other than BitChute and LBRY that I'm able to do that right now. So why do you think it's so important?
Yeah, well, I mean, just the attack on free speech online and coming, and also, in the IRL and in real life as well. It's just going to get worse and worse, especially under Biden. But, going back real quick. I mean, that's what's just so confusing about Trump, because, I truly do believe that, the military industrial complex and whatever types, the central banking complex or whatever, lots of complexes these people have. They are, the true puppet masters. So, who knows? At the end of the day, like, Trump is an actor. I mean, he was in the WWF. I think, was it you that mentioned, like, he was like in the Hall of Fame WWF? Obviously, he was like in movies. I know Home Alone is like one of them.
Sex
The
in the City,
Apprentice. Yeah, Sex and the
Will and
City.
Grace.
Apprentice, which was WNBC. But he, so who knows? It's very confusing because it seems like maybe this is part of the playbook where they develop this like this hatred for this man, and then just so they rally the other side to hate him so much that
Well,
they
divide
just
and
go
conquer,
for
that's
it.
very
Right,
Caesarian. I
right.
mean,
Yeah.
that's a Caesarian approach. I find it interesting because you have this this attempt to find someone that's anti-establishmentarianist, and now they kind of went the opposite way. But for years, after George H.W. Bush, as people started to wake up in the 90s, slowly, they went for the anti-establishmentarianist is, Bill Clinton, he plays saxophone on TV. And then it goes into George W. Bush, who was anti or non-interventionist when he was running. He was anti-Federal Reserve when he was running. Look how that turned out. And then Obama, well, we know why he's like, oh, well, he's a black man. Of course, he's anti-establishment. Just being honest, that's how they kind of played it on television. Oh, he's slow jamming the news with Jimmy Fallon. All right, he's a guy. And then it got to the point where all that became so clear, and that thumb and fist nonsense bullshit politician stuff became so obvious that they had to step it up a bit. And that's what a limited hangout is all about. They tell you a bit of the truth, but not the whole truth to distract you from the entirety of the truth. So this guy comes around and says Bill Clinton is a rapist, and everyone's like, oh my God, this guy's the greatest person ever. I'm going to sit on my hands for 4 years as he drops more bombs than Obama in his first year, just over the 1 year period. And like, no one talks about that. No one talks about the actual bad things he does. Everyone on the left just talks about the good things he does as if they're bad. So it's like, it just distracts people. They never talk about the real issues. So now you have the civil war basically just on the horizon. So, I mean, how far away can we possibly be from something like that?
Yeah. And I believe that really, every country has been at war. It's a war of the tyrants versus free people. And the sooner we recognize that, the better. And that is the one plus side of what's going on in the world today with Corona and Trump and Biden and all this BS, is that I do believe people are starting to understand that fact and realize that fact. And like you said, it's the time for education. I mean, obviously it's important to talk with like your close networks, your families and friends, and, just try to educate them if they're leaning the wrong way. And bring facts to the table. A lot of times facts won't work either because emotions take the front. But we, going back to like this is where technology can help us out. Technology can be used for good or evil, but technology is one of the weapons that we can use against these tyrannical, fascist, socialists, whatever you want to call it, commies. And with Flote, I mean, that's right now, like with the internet, the ethos of the internet was free peer-to-peer communication, amongst people to connect the world, really. And that's really what the anarchist voluntarist message is. Like a lot of times they talk about their one world government. Well, in a way, we're talking about one world, but it's like, one world for humanity, I guess, or something, whatever you want to call it, but decentralizing these power structures. Yeah. But with Flote, so now, the internet came out, and big tech basically took over the old media, your television, and created this new media where this peer-to-peer communication channels, this broadcasting network where we're able to reach our followers, and they're able to communicate back, and we're able to discover information we've never been able to discover before. Well, it seems like, the cat is out of the bag, but they are trying to bring back that control to themselves. And they've basically created these companies or co-opted them, at the very least, Google, Facebook, Amazon, basically, Microsoft, all the big tech are at least have some influence from the tyrants. So with
from the
Flote,
Chinese government.
Yeah, exactly. So Flote, we are the antithesis of Facebook. We believe in, free speech. How controversial is that? We believe in free speech. Your right to discover and engage with whatever content and information that you choose to, and whatever people you choose to. And we have, we're using technology to create this community where people can basically, kind of like we like to say we're like kind of throwing a life raft out there for people, especially
Right.
like like yourself that are getting censored so much. I mean, I've been censored too. I was just recently censored on Facebook for 24 hours for a post from 8 years ago. That's just all it is a Hitler quote that was meant to show that I think it was like I was talking about like the government education. And so
That's hilarious. That's exactly what happened to oh man, who was it again? Was it I think it was Etienne de la Boussie Squared, who we both know, who wrote a book years ago. And on the cover of the book, he was trying to show how the school system was Nazi in nature. So he put a swastika on the chalkboard, and everyone said it was a pro-Hitler book. And he got Antifa after him while he was in Montana at the Red Pill Expo. It was hilarious. But yeah, I mean, that's one of the things, though, is that you have to have a lifeboat in this kind of situation where they've censored your ability to find any information online. And obviously, it's a technocratic overtaken with social credit and that kind of stuff that is really up on the horizon here. So having something like Flote is crucial to being able to reach people. And of course, I got banned for 30 days off of Facebook. You can find me as L Josho Sigurdson, and got a mustache. Yeah, but also, I mean, it's I got banned once because a guy threatened to chop me up into a bunch of pieces and eat me. Like, seriously, some crazy, like, guy was beyond over the hill crazy.
I'm sorry, I was high and hungry.
But I responded, get some help. And they said I was attacking his mental disability. This guy was threatening to track me down while I was in Miami and kill me and chop me up. And I'm like, get some help. And they were saying I was bullying him. And I got taken down for 30 days for that. And then when I got back on, this was like January 2019, I said, this is ridiculous. And I got kicked off for another 30 days for saying my previous ban was ridiculous. So, I mean, it's so stupid. It's beyond at that point. At this point, it's just so stupid. I mean, it's really gotten to the point where people have been so fractioned against each other because of the way media has worked that you have, I mean, how can I understand why people still like Trump? Like, I'm not a fan of anyone in government. I don't think government's the answer, but I can understand why a lot of people like him. But how does anyone still like Biden? How does anyone still like Hillary Clinton? You have to be so out of the loop of information and be, like Simon says, repeat after me, to still actually be that far gone. So I don't even try to educate those people anymore because they cannot be helped if they have had all this information around them for that many years. I mean, it's a miracle to get them out of that. But on the other side, you have a lot of people that are developing and people that have developed into the ideas of freedom, and people who can all come together and talk and have conversations on this platform. Flote.app. So Kingsley, finally, before we finish this off, how much do you see Flote growing in the next year? Because I know James Corbett's on it, G. Edward Griffin's on it, Sam Tripoli from the Tinfoil Hat podcast, the guy who books the Comedy Store is on it. Dan Dix, the Press for Truth, myself, obviously, so many people. Del Bigtree, you can go on and on and on. Where do you see Flote going in the next year? Because I do see word of mouth spreading a lot.
Yeah, well, again, I mean, we, just building the antithesis platform of that's basically fighting big tech. And I think this is important for, more entrepreneurs to get into this space. And we need more software solutions. We need more hardware solutions. I mean, we've just, I almost feel bad as an entrepreneur just letting them get away so long. I mean, even up into just a few years ago, I was still like a Google fanboy. I thought that they were, do no evil. And now it's just gotten, out of control. So like with Flotes, I mean, that's really, our focus. And when we launched Flote, we were like, well, we don't want to be polarizing and we don't want to, talk too much about free speech. We want to just kind of deliver this in a way that it just provides it. But now it's like, kind of the line is drawn in the sand. I mean, but luckily there's a big enough base for us to grow and grow fast because of the people that are getting censored and care about these issues. Anyone right. From a voluntarist anarchist to even a conservative Trump supporter. But we, obviously we're open to anybody joining the platform. We're a place for conversation, for discussion, for discourse. And it's not a problem if you disagree with someone on Flote. And that's one great thing about our community. I mean, for the most part, you're gonna connect with people that want to have this intellectual discourse right. And figure out the truth. That's what we should all be aiming for. But going back to like what we're doing with Flote and the growth, we're building this technology. We have encrypted messaging. I mean, there's spying on you. We have, what we're probably going to have to actually put at the, one of the front things that we're going to be working on next year as far as our pipeline and development is I think it's probably going to be important to have where private accounts on Flote are fully encrypted. We already have encrypted messaging, but when we're talking about, again, the criminalization of speech, if your private account is fully encrypted, then that's at least going to save you from people that you aren't connected to on Flote seeing that information, and the Karens of the world, and calling the police on you for saying, oh, I voted for Trump, or I think the whole political establishment is BS.
Right.
We're actually in the beginning stages of doing some really exciting things that we haven't released publicly yet, but we're launching some things on the crypto side that we'll be releasing here this month that are very exciting for us. We're starting to bring in more revenue, and we are hiring developers. We have more interviews next week. We're building out our dev team. And we're focused again on just connecting people and making these payment channels peer-to-peer so that no one can interfere with your communication with other people. No one can interfere with your message as you broadcast it as you please, and or the content that you want to engage with. And then also creating these payment channels that, again, peer-to-peer using cryptocurrency. This is my background since 2013. Let's connect people and those in the payment channels so that we can create these online communities where they're communicating and working with each other to organize, whether it's, tipping you or someone having an online store of maybe they have a garden in their, it seems like a lot of things are going to be illegal potentially in the near future, having a garden in their backyard and they want to sell food or, anything. So yeah, these are the things that we're working on. We have a great pipeline that we're going to be able to accomplish next year. And like I said, I've never been more excited and more focused right now on where we're going at Flote. And I think we will be one of the main solutions as people do jump ship from big tech platforms onto the alternatives.
I certainly think a lot of people are at this point, and they don't really have a choice, because first they come for like David Duke, then they go after Alex Jones or Christopher Cantwell, then Alex Jones, then they go after Dan Dix and myself, and like they just keep going down the line to less and less severe stuff, and then it gets to the point where they're going to just be censoring the people trying to watch that content, which they in a way already have, because you're not able to find anything online anymore. I'm right now in the process of trying to just re-upload a bunch of my old ancient civilization travel videos up on YouTube, on my other YouTube channel, Josh Sigurdson, not because I want to post on YouTube, just so that there's some reference to these historical sites that have nothing to do with politics or anything like that online, because they've erased me from most of the internet. But nonetheless, I think Flote.app is a really important platform that I think everyone should be getting on, flote.app, as well as joinflote.com. Make sure to go and do that right away, my friends. There's links below in the description. We will get back to you on a lot of this stuff soon. Obviously, this has affected the election has affected the cryptocurrency market, the gold market, the economy. We've seen double tops of the stock market. That could lead to some interesting results in the next couple of weeks, though the banks seem to be on the side of anyone winning at this point. So that tells you everything you need to know. And but nonetheless, there's a new guard system on the rise that's supposed to and eventually will overtake the old guard system. But you have to have patience. This is a battle of good versus evil overall. And be one of the good and don't fall for the evil. Be patient, but don't succumb to the madness, and don't get on your knees because other people told you to. Be uncomfortable. Go out of your way to be uncomfortable so you can do good things. If you're comfortable, you're probably not doing the right thing. Anyway,
especially right now.
Yeah, especially right now. This is the end game at this point, and civil war will be coming. And the thing is with civil war, it's not going to be the same kind of civil war as we saw before. It's probably going to be factions within different states within the United States, but it'll be red versus blue, which means it's distracted from the actual issue. It's people fighting each other over what flavor of government they want rather than maybe fighting the government that has been enslaving them for all this time. But anyway, we'll get into that more in another video. I really appreciate everyone watching. Check those links below. BitChute, hit that notification bell and go to your settings on BitChute. Click on notifications in your settings, and then click to get the email notifications from BitChute, as well as on LBRY/Odysee. And of course, join us on Flote.app at Josh Sigurdson, as well as at Wham. You can join Kingsley at King, and there will be a bunch of links below. And if you want this shirt, the revolution will not be YouTubed. Make sure to find it in our Teespring store, also linked below. We're completely viewer-funded. GoFundMe, Patreon, Subscribestar, Bitcoin, as well as CoinTree. Our CoinTree link gives you a bunch of different cryptocurrency addresses from different altcoins, and as well as Bitcoin that you can donate in. We really appreciate it, guys. Anyway, until next time, appreciate you joining us, Kingsley. This is Josh Sigurdson and Kingsley Edwards signing out from World Alternative Media. Find the truth, be the change.